Welcome back to Grasping the Gridiron. As always, I'm your host, Zach Thummel, and thank you for listening. Today, we'll be going over the Oregon Ducks in the 2025-2026 season, and we'll give a little team preview on them. So, without further ado, I'll get started. Oregon's got the third best odds to win the Big Ten behind Ohio State and Penn State. They've got the sixth best odds to win the college football playoff. And they've got an over-under of 10.5 wins coming off of a Big Ten championship last year and a 13-1 record. Um, so they'll be really primed and chomping at the bit to repeat and do better on what they did from last year. And no one will tell you that more, and you'll hear that from no one more often than Dan Lanning, their head coach. So we'll get right into the schedule here now. The first game is August 30th, this Saturday against Montana State. Montana State's a fun FCS team and will probably be very great this year in the FCS. And I've got a friend, number 97, defensive lineman Alec Eckert, on the team. He's from Lewiston, Idaho, but there's just no way Montana State's gonna be able to win against Oregon and Eugene. I've got the Ducks taking this one 48-13. Then the second game of the season, Oklahoma State will travel up from Stillwater to Eugene, and Oklahoma State's just even in a great matchup here early on, Big Ten versus Big 12. There's just no way they're going to have enough firepower to beat Oregon. I think Oregon's going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. I have the Ducks taking this one 31-24. And then September 13th, the Ducks go at Northwestern, travel to Evanston, Illinois, and even on the road, Northwestern's just not going to have enough. I've got the Ducks taking this one 34-21. On September 20th, Oregon State travels from Corvallis to Eugene in their in-state rivalry. And as much as Oregon State's going to be solid, they've got a great running back, Anthony Hankerson. They're going to be good, but I've got the Ducks taking this one 35-27 at home versus the Beavers in a close shootout there. And then September 27th, this is going to be the big one. The Ducks go at Penn State. This is going to be the first real Big Ten and the first real test of Oregon State, or of Oregon, all year. And I think at Penn State, they're going to fall 28-24 in what's going to be one of the best games of the year in college football. So at this point, the Ducks are 4-1. And then on October 11th, the Indiana Hoosiers will come into Eugene, and I think the Ducks are going to bounce back from that loss at Penn State, 38-20 versus Indiana against Kirk Cignetti at home. October 18th, on the Saturday there, they will travel to Piscataway, New Jersey, and face the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And I've got the Ducks taking this one 27-13. There's no way that Rutgers is going to be able to beat Oregon this year. I think Rutgers is a fun team and an exciting future, potentially with the Big Apple in New York being a football recruiting hotbed. Rutgers could have potential in the future, but not this year. October 25th, the Wisconsin Badgers will travel from Madison, Wisconsin to Eugene, Oregon, and take on the Ducks. I've got the Ducks taking this one 30-15. Wisconsin's probably going to be more of a power-style team as opposed to the air raid that they tried to run over the past few years. But even so, I've got the Ducks winning this one. Then November 8th, on a Saturday, the Ducks travel to Iowa, at Iowa. This is going to be a really, really tough game. Iowa's going to have a really tough defense, and I think an improved offense behind quarterback transfer from South Dakota State, Mark Gronowski. But I have the Ducks still taking this one 24-21 in a great, great defensive game there at Iowa. And then a Friday game, November 14th versus Minnesota. The Minnesota Gophers come into Eugene and will take on the Ducks. I've got the Ducks taking this one 31-21 in a closer game on a Friday. Unique schedule change, but the Ducks will take care of business. And on Saturday, November 22nd, the USC Trojans will come in from Los Angeles and take on the Eugene or take on the Ducks in Eugene. This is going to be another great game. These last four games are going to be tough for the Ducks, but I have them taking this one 27-21 at home against USC. And then the final game of the season, November 29th, Saturday in Seattle at Washington against the Huskies. And this is going to be a great game, but I think the Ducks are going to pull this one out late. And these final four games, like I said, are going to be tough for the Ducks, but I think they're going to pull out all four in dramatic fashion there. But yeah, all in all, I've got the Ducks starting off 4-0, losing a game at Penn State, and then rattling off 7 straight wins to go 11-1, and what I would assume be a Big Ten championship berth. And this is going to be a really, really great team to watch. And while they're ranked behind Ohio State and Penn State, I think they bring in a lot more productive transfers in comparison, and guys, maybe in a straight up comparison, that don't have that production. I think they're going to be niche guys that Dan Lanning recruited and brought in for a reason. So I'm really confident that this team is going to do well this year. And there's a chance that Oregon's playing Penn State or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And I like Penn State to win the Big Ten this year. I think they got a lot there, but as media members say, there's always that weird hump with Penn State where they always seem to fall somewhere, and especially under James Franklin. So I think Oregon could get their revenge in the Big Ten championship against Penn State and go back to back winning the Big Ten. And now for my prediction for the top performers for the Ducks this year. We'll start out on offense. The first one is Mekhi Hughes, running back for transfer from Tulane. He had 265 carries, 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, and a 5.3 yard per carry average last year with the Green Wave. And he's going to be a plug-and-play, impact, immediate guy for the Ducks. The bigger question coming in for me, for on the offense, at least with the Ducks, other than the quarterback position, was the offensive line. And it looks like 3 out of the 5 starters are going to be transfers. And in one sort of quick synopsis of that, Isaiah World is going to be a world beater. And in this team, this O-line is going to be just fine. I think the Oregon staff, just within my research, says that or thinks that this O-line is going to be fine. And with that, they're very confident, and so am I. So I think Mekhi Hughes is going to be an absolute stud this year and probably going to be in the same stat range. I think he could go for 1,200, 1,300 yards behind this Oregon offensive line on a good year. But regardless, I think Mekhi Hughes is going to be the biggest impact player for the Ducks this year. And the second guy is Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end. He, is from the state of Idaho, comes to Oregon as kind of an under-recruited guy and has really found a niche role here with the Ducks. He last year had 24 catches for 308 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaged 12.8 yards rather, per reception. That is an unbelievable clip, and a guy that's just was a chunk yardage guy last year and had a really good average, and that is going to completely translate this year. I think Kenyon Sadiq, I know I mentioned Mekhi Hughes first, but I think Kenyon Sadiq is extremely slept on coming into this year, and as far as national attention, I think he has the potential to be the number 1 tight end in the country in terms of what NFL scouts are looking at. So I think he has the potential to be the guy in this class. His athleticism's off the charts. But couldn't find anything as far as recent times. But all of that will be taken care of come May, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about when the Ducks kick off this Saturday versus Montana State. Moving on to defense now, this guy, Mateo Uyunglele, the edge for the Ducks, he's going to be just an absolute game wrecker, and he's going to be a problem. He's coming off of a 2024 season, 24 tackles, 10 and a half sacks, two forced fumbles, and an interception. Just uh, a great season, and I think he's going to improve on it this year and probably going to be more over the 12 and a half sack range, I would imagine. So, when you have a guy that can rush the passer, and you get Bear Alexander as a transfer on the interior, this Oregon defensive line is just going to be solid, if not one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. So this D line is going to be an absolute game wrecking D line, and going to be hard for offensive coordinators to scheme against, especially with Dan Lanning as a defensive mind, and a guy that has been able to get some great production from his edge rushers. And the final guy on our list, and the second top performer on defense, is Dylan Thieneman, the boundary safety transfer from Purdue. And so when I say boundary safety, if some of you are unfamiliar with that, so on the hashes of the football field from right to left, whenever the ref lines up the ball on either hash, Dylan Thieneman's going to be the guy that is the closest to the out of bound or to the boundary. So he is going to be the safety, typically in a 2 high or 3 high safety set. He's going to be the guy closest to the sidelines, not on the wide side of the field where more of the green grass is. So he's going to be on the weak side, typically, of the defense. And he just had an incredibly productive year for Purdue last year, and I think it's going to transfer in spades for the Ducks. He had 104 total tackles, 70 solo, and 6 passes defended. So he'll be a guy with a ton of experience that will come in, and I think the theme for this Duck roster is, while they're coming off a great year and potentially did lose a good amount of production, they're replacing it with guys that have production as well, either at other places or in a backup role. So I'm really confident that this Ducks team is not going to take a step back. Now for the team identity, and what I think will be sort of the core identity of what Oregon does on offense and defense. So starting out with offense, it's going to be the RPOs and taking what the defense gives them. With a new starting quarterback, they've typically had a guy come in the past few years under Dan Lanning that's been a transfer, Bo Nix or Dylan Gabriel with experience, and I just think that Dante Moore is going to be successful in a different way, and the way that they're going to accelerate that process is by using the RPOs and making it easy on him to develop the other parts of his game and taking what the defense gives them. And with DeCorian Moore coming in, Kenyon Sadiq, and Mekhi Hughes on offense here, those three, between the run game, the wide receiver room, and the tight end room, those three guys, between Sadiq, Hughes, and Moore, are going to be huge into whether or not how quickly Dante Moore improves and gets better. So it'll be interesting to watch what Oregon leans on offensively, but my prediction would be the RPO read option and easing Dante Moore into this starting role in his development as a quarterback. For defense, it's going to be one position group in one area of the defense, the D-line. These edge rushers and interior D-line men are going to be really, really difficult to stop. Mateo Uiagalelei and Bear Alexander, I mentioned him because I think under this Dan Lanning team and this Dan Lanning leadership and this defense, Bear's going to find his ultimate play style and find out who he is as a person. I know he's transferred around a little bit and been a guy that has had some character concerns, but I think with these character concerns, Dan Lanning is the perfect person to spell that. So I'm expecting big things from Mateo Uiagalelei and Bear Alexander. on the Oregon D-line this year, and I'm expecting big things from the Oregon D-line in general, and that's going to be their identity, is using the D-line to stop the run and get after the passer, and hoping that everyone else on the back end can take care of business enough to where they're in business, and doing great things. And I'm really confident in this Oregon Duck team. And, despite being, picked to have the third best odds to win the Big Ten, like I talked about, and they're over under 10.5, I'm picking them to go 11-1 this year off of a 13-1 season. And I think they're going to be competing for the Big Ten championship again here in year two under Dan Lanning in the Big Ten.